Thank you, Peter, and thank you for joining us today to learn more about economic recovery in the greater MSP region. I'm Amanda Taylor, Vice President of Research and Intelligence at the Greater MSP Partnership, and I'm so pleased to share insights that we have gathered tracking real-time regional metrics of recovery at the MSP Regional Recovery Hub. The Recovery Hub was co-created with over a dozen regional partners and launched in December 2020. Today, we'll navigate through the hub and examine top-line findings and trends on how the regional economy has performed over the last few months. We're also going to invite some of our data partners to join us in interpreting recovery across different aspects of the economy. The hub tracks 14 key measures of our region's economic strength across 5 categories of recovery: health, employment, travel and movement, business vitality, and family vitality. Measures of human health, including COVID cases and the rate of vaccination, are leading indicators of recovery in the region. Progress in these areas impact the speed of recovery across the other metrics, with this being overall especially true for measures of employment. At this stage of economic recovery, our focus is jobs. Top questions we're examining are jobs coming back? How fast are they coming back relative to peer regions? And how has the job market changed? As we'll walk through in a moment, the answer to these questions are yes, jobs are coming back. And we're moving in the right direction. But in terms of speed, we still have a lot of runway ahead for job growth. And yes, the labor market is changing, reflected in the types of jobs most commonly appearing in job postings. The types of jobs lost throughout 2020 are not the jobs in demand in 2021. It has been a full year since the start of the COVID-19 pandemic. In that first month, 1 year ago, the MSP region experienced the loss of over 260,000 jobs. That was a 13% drop in employment from March to April. While many businesses were able to shift employees to work remotely, others were forced to temporarily close, causing workers to be furloughed or laid off. The region was able to recover many of those jobs throughout the summer months and into fall. By October, over 60% of the jobs that were lost in April had returned. But employment was still 7.6% lower than it was 1 year prior, before the pandemic began. A significant surge in COVID cases in late November had a big impact on what had been a meaningful recovery into October, and job losses returned at the end of the year. An employment bounce back was expected in the first months of 2021. But while we are bullish that employment will rebound, the speed of recovery is not inevitable. Thanks to a new benchmarking tool on the Regional Recovery Hub, we know that the pace of employment recovery is not keeping up with all peer regions. Cause for concern? MSP still has one of the largest gaps in employment from levels a year ago, before COVID, trailing most of our peers. Reasons for optimism? Minnesota has one of the highest rates of vaccination, and the opening up of eligibility to all Minnesotans 16 or older means that we should expect the rate of vaccination to continue to accelerate. And year-over-year growth in venture capital deal activity is a signal of confidence in the region's capacity to create even more jobs. Jobs recovery is moving in the right direction, and much of the employment growth in 2021 so far is due in part to the loosening of restrictions on bars and restaurants in early January. The leisure and hospitality industry sector, which includes employment at entertainment venues, hotels, and restaurants, saw the largest share of jobs return so far in 2021. Data for the first months of 2021 give us a sense of optimism for the travel industry specifically, with hotel occupancy rates steadily increasing as we enter spring. To assess recovery of the travel and tourism industry, we welcome Melvin Tennant, President and CEO of Meet Minneapolis, to share his insights. Welcome, Melvin.
Hi, Amanda. How are you?
Great. Thanks so much for being here with us. So my question for you, we know 2020 was an incredibly challenging year for the travel and tourism industry, And we've seen that reflected in the employment and hotel occupancy data. What can you share with us today about recovery over the first quarter of 2021 and what to expect into the spring and summer months?
Well, you're right, Amanda. We've had a tough year, as a lot of industries have, but we are seeing signs of optimism. The first months of the year still indicate that we're significantly below hotel occupancies of 2020. In fact, we in 2020 were not able to host the NCAA Men's Wrestling Championships. That would have been a great opportunity for March of last year, but we missed that obviously because of the pandemic. But what we're seeing is that hotel occupancy during the week has begun to stabilize with some upward spikes on the weekend, which is an indication that leisure travel is picking up. So that is really going to be the first sector that returns, is leisure travel. Business travel is going to be a while before it does return, but we also have very optimistic prospects for our group travel bookings in the future, and we're looking for the second half of the year to really begin to demonstrate a recovery.
Well, those are great insights. Thanks so much for joining us, Melvin.
Thank you.
We are tracking closely and seeing that while job recovery has been slow, there is sign for hope for accelerated growth, reflected in the job posting activity we are observing on the Recovery Hub. Hiring demand from employers is rising. The number of new job postings have been increasing steadily since November, and in December, the number of new postings actually exceeded pre-COVID levels. We've learned from extensive analysis of postings by data partner Real-Time Talent that the labor market has changed. Demand is high for positions in health sciences fields and engineering, manufacturing, and technology fields. Demand is low for positions in arts and hospitality and tourism fields, indicating that many of the jobs lost in 2020 are not coming back. We invite Aaron Olson, Director of Strategic Research with Real-Time Talent, to share more about the shifting hiring demand in the MSP region. Welcome, Aaron.
Hi, Amanda. Glad to be here.
Yeah, so Aaron, we see in the data that job posting volumes are increasing, and there's a lot of opportunity in the economy today, but hiring demand is showing to be higher in a few occupations. Can you tell us more about the type of hiring demand that has seen an uptick in the last couple of months?
Sure. Well, taking a deeper look at trends by career field in the 7-county metro, we see that while employer demand for talent dropped considerably last March and April across all sectors, there was a steady rebound in employer demand for occupations in engineering, manufacturing, technology, and health sciences. Information technology careers in particular were some of the first to rebound in the metro, with local job postings rising considerably last June and staying relatively stable since then. In the past 12 months, there were about 2 times as many job postings in key transportation and logistics roles as well here in the metro than what we saw prior to the pandemic. And just looking at the first quarter of 2021 alone, demand for software developers, insurance sales agents, marketing managers, stock clerks, and truck drivers is significantly higher now than what it was in the first quarter of 2020, suggesting that our local market is changing. We see signs that demand is growing faster than the available talent supply here in the metro and some of those most critical jobs for tomorrow's economy.
Well, thanks, Aaron. Really appreciate your insights.
Thank you so much, Amanda.
The inclusiveness of recovery has been a challenge to track on the Regional Recovery Hub due to the limited availability of real-time data. But we know from analysis from partners like Deed, the Minneapolis Fed, McKinsey, and others that the deepest impacts of the pandemic are being felt by women, low-wage workers, Black and Hispanic workers, and workers without a college degree. Data from Deed shows that unemployment rates are still discouragingly higher for Minnesotans from BIPOC communities than white Minnesotans. A larger share of workers of color are employed in the industries most impacted by COVID, and in those jobs for which we do not anticipate the recovery will be as robust. To quicken the pace of recovery and ensure that all workers have opportunities to return to work, we must do things differently. I'll send it back to Peter now to help us further unpack the data and insights we're tracking through the Regional Recovery Hub.